Ever wondered what happened to Huck Finn when the river turned against him? In this untold adventure, Huck finds himself alone on the Mississippi, facing danger, deception, and the hardest choice of his young life. Stay tuned as we uncover this lost tale of courage, loyalty, and the river's reckoning. When I woke up, the sun was already crawling up over the trees, and the river looked like a strip of fire running along the world. I stretched out and listened, but it was quiet, too quiet. Jim always stirs early, fussin' with the fire or hummin', some tune low to hisself. But there warn't no sound except the water slap pin gentle at the logs. I sat up quick, rubbed my eyes, and saw the rope we tied the raft with was cut sharp, not untied. Jim's blanket lay folded, but Jim warn't in it. "Jim!" I hollered, soft at first, then louder. "Jim! Say, where you at?" "Nothin'," but the river answerin'. A kind of hollow feelin' crept over me, like my stomach had dropped out. I says to myself, now here's a fix, Huck Finn. Either Jim's gone and left, or somebody's carried him off. I didn't want to think the last part, but the rope told me plain enough somebody'd been meddlin'. I walked up and down the bank, peerin' at the mud. There was tracks, big boot tracks, that weren't Jim's. "Well, I reckon that settles it," I muttered. "He didn't run off. He's been took." My heart thumped so hard I could hear it. I remembered the men we seen 2 nights back, prowlin' the banks with lanterns. A skin question's too sharp. Could be they found him. I squatted down and talked it out with myself, the way I do when things turn mean. "Now, Huck, you can sit tight and hope Jim comes paddlin' back, which he won't, seein' as he's tied up somewhere. Or you can go after him. But if you do, you're poking your nose straight into trouble." I kicked a stone in the water and watched the ripples spread. "Trouble's what I always get anyhow," I said out loud, trying to keep my voice steady. Might as well choose it instead of waitin' for it. Still, my chest felt heavy. Jim was the only friend I had out here, and without him the river seemed twice as big and 3 times as lonesome. So I tied up what scraps of food we had left, shoved off the raft, and let the current catch me. I didn't rightly know where I was bound, only that I weren't about to leave Jim behind if there was any chance left. The raft drifted easy, though my mind weren't easy at all. I kept thinking how Jim always figured things sensible, while me, I mostly just trusted to luck and hoped it'd play kind. But I knowed luck don't fetch back a friend. So I says to myself, "Huck, you best make yourself look smaller than you are, else them fellers will see right through you." I rummaged round in the barrel we kept for odds and ends, and I struck on some rags. A woman's bonnet near tore to pieces, and a patchy old shirt I'd picked up in one of them drift shacks. The sight of it made me grin. "Why, Huck, you always was a dab hand at dressin' other than your own self," I said, rememberin' times I fooled old women with my play actin'. I slipped into the shirt, which hung loose like a flour sack, then tied the bonnet crooked atop my head. Lookin' at my reflection in the water, I near laughed out loud. "Well, I reckon you're Miss Huck now," I whispered. "Long as nobody stares too close, they'll take you for some half-starved farm girl wanderin' along." But soon as I thought it, a prickly feelin' crawled up my neck. What if they did stare close? What if they asked questions I couldn't dance round? I squatted on the raft, talking it over like Jim was there. "Jim, you always said a lie was mighty dangerous if it weren't aimed at hellpin. Well, I reckon this one's for you, so it ain't the same as lyin' mean." The river gurgled soft like it agreed some. Then I stuffed a piece of bread in my mouth and nodded. "All right then, I'll play my part. And if folks can't see through my fibbin', maybe I'll sniff out where they took you." I pulled the raft closer to shore, ready to nose about, my heart thumpin' harder than a woodpecker. I warn't off the bank more'n a half hour when I heard oars clap pin the water. I ducked low in the brush and peeped out. Sure enough, here come a skiff with 2 men in it, ragged as scarecrows, their hats bent and their faces mean with whiskers. One hollered, "Hey there, girlie, what you doin' out alone this early?" I near choked, but I remembered my bonnet and kept my head down. "Nothin', sir," I says soft, puttin' on a kind of squeaky voice. "Just pickin' berries for my ma." The men looked at one another and rowed closer. The taller one narrowed his eyes. "Ain't safe for a slip like you," Not with a runaway N ****** Roman this stretch. You seen him? My heart jumped like a cat in a sack. I swallowed hard and shook my head. No, sir. I don't meddle with nobody. I just keep to my berries. The short one leaned forward. His eyes was sharp as fishhooks. You sure? Big feller. Black as midnight. Might have come floatin' by on a raft. Could be he stopped near here. I scratched at the bonnet ribbon and made my lip tremble. Ain't seen nothin' but the river, sir. Maybe he's downstream. They kept lookin' at me, and I felt my lie wobblin' under their stare. The tall one spat over the side. Well, reckon you'd best get on to your ma. You hear tell of that runaway, you let us know. There's a fine reward on him. I nodded quick, mumblin', yes, sir, I will. Though my chest felt sick at the words, they pulled the oars and drifted past, muttering low to each other. When they was gone, I slipped off the bonnet and wiped my forehead. Lordy, Huck Finn, I whispered. You near got caught by your own tongue, but what else could you do? Tellin' the truth would have hung Jim. The raft creaked gentle under me as I shoved it back into the current, but my conscience pricked me sharper than a thorn. The river took me along slow, as if it warn't in no hurry, though my heart was racin' like a steamboat. The water lapped the logs gentle, whisperin' to itself, but it only made things feel emptier. I stretched out flat on the raft, staring up at the sky, and says, well, Huck Finn, you got your wish. You always said you'd rather be free and alone than tied up with folks bossing you round. Now you're free, sure enough. And so derned lonesome you can hear your own bones rattle. The words echoed back at me, and I almost expected Jim to laugh and say, Huck, you talks foolish, but there warn't no Jim. I propped up on my elbow and scolded the river like it was a person. Why you got to be so wide, huh? Why you always spreadin' out like you got secrets hid on both sides? A body can't keep track o' nothin' on you. You swallowed Jim right up, didn't you? The river just rolled on, churning in the sun. I picked up the old bonnet, tennin' it in my hands. Don't make no sense me talkin' to myself like this, I muttered. But I reckon it feels better than hearin' nothin' at all. I sat still a while, watchin' a bird skim low across the water. My chest ached. Jim, you was always steady, like a big oak. When I got wild notions, you pulled me back. Now I got nothin' but my own tricks, and I don't rightly trust 'em. I swallowed hard, staring at the muddy swirls. Friendless ain't no kind o' freedom. It's like a rope round your neck. The sun was high now, and the raft drifted on, carrying me deeper into the silence. It warn't long after noon when I spied something queer on a sandbar up ahead. The river had dropped some, and there stood an old shack leanin', like it was tired of being upright. The roof sagged, the boards was gray as ashes, but smoke marks clung to the chimney like somebody'd used it not too long ago. I pulled the raft in quiet, lettin' the current nose me against the mud. Well, Huck Finn, I says, maybe luck's throwin' you a bone for once. The door creaked something awful when I pushed it, but inside warn't just cobwebs and dust. There was a table with a loaf of bread gone stale, a lantern half full of oil, and, my eyes near popped, an old revolver layin' on the shelf. Beside it was a sack with dried meat and biscuits. I grinned wide and whispered, now here's Providence workin' double shifts. Food, light, even a shooter. Jim'll think I turned magician. But then I stopped grinnin', for the floor told another tale. Fresh footprints pressed in the dirt, big ones, heavy, like men had tromped through not an hour past. The biscuits weren't hard enough to be more'n a day old. Neither. A shiver run down me. I backed to the door, mutterin', this ain't no blessin', Huck. This here's bait. Somebody's usin' this place for their own. I bent down close to the prints and traced one with my finger. They was broad and long, nothin' like Jim's. Reckon you best clear out afore the owner's return, I told myself, though the bread smell near drove me crazy. My belly hollered louder than my sense. So I tore off a piece quick, stuffing it in my shirt, and whispered, don't never say Huck Finn starved with food under his nose. But don't you, Terry, neither. I slipped back to the raft, every board in that shack creakin' behind me like it was warning me to hurry. I hadn't got 20 steps from the shack when a branch cracked upriver. My skin prickled. Voices carried down the bank, rough and careless. "Best see to the hall," one said. "Reckon he ain't going nowhere tied like that," said the other, Logan. My heart near stopped. I darted back, slipping through the door and dropping flat. The only place to hide was a gap in the floorboards where the dirt showed through. I wriggled under, the dust choky in my nose, and pulled a loose plank half over me. The men stomped in. Their boots rattled the boards above my head. "Set it down," growled the first. A heavy thump shook the floor. I could see crumbs rain in through the cracks. The second snorted. "We'll eat soon enough. I want to know what to do with the darky. Can't keep him hid forever." I clenched my fists tight. They was talking about Jim, had to be. "Sell him upriver," said the first, calm as you please. "Plenty pay for a strong buck. He'll fetch enough to buy us out of this backwater." The other spat. "Long as we don't get caught. Sheriff's nose is twitchin'. We best move quick." Their words burned me hot and cold all at once. Jim was close, maybe just yonder in the woods, tied up like they said. I wanted to bust out right then, but my legs wouldn't move. The first man sighed. "Come on, let's fetch more wood. Don't want no smoke drawin' eyes." Their boots creaked heavy toward the door. Then silence. Only the river outside hummin' like nothing had happened. I laid there in the dust, shaken like a leaf. "Lordy, Huck," I whispered. "You come within a hair of being catched. But now you know, Jim's alive, and they aim to sell him." The thought filled me with dread and a fierce kind of fire all mixed. I crawled out from under them boards after a spell, shaken so bad I could scarce stand. My shirt was full of dust and cobwebs, and my hands weren't steady. I didn't dare look back at the shack. I just crept to the raft and shoved off, letting the river drag me away. Once I was safe out in the current, I dropped flat and covered my face. "Jim," I groaned, "I done failed you sure. They got you tied up somewhere like a hog, and I ain't nothing but a coward running off." The river whispered low, but it didn't ease me none. The sky was tinnin' red, and the whole world looked mean. I sat up sudden and scolded myself. "Huck Finn, you ain't fit to call yourself a friend. You was right there, close enough to hear him talk, and what did you do? Hide in the dirt like a rabbit. Jim counted on you, and you let him down." I kicked at the boards of the raft, mad at myself. Maybe folks was right all along. Maybe I ain't cut out to help nobody. Maybe I'm just a no-good drifter that brings trouble to every soul I touch. My eyes stung something fierce, and I tried to laugh it off, but the sound came out cracked. "What you crying for, Huck? Crying won't fetch Jim back." The sun dipped lower, and shadows spread over the water. I pulled my knees up to my chin, feeling smaller than I ever had. "I reckon Jim's gone for good," I whispered, my throat tight. "And maybe it's better for him not to count on me no more. I ain't worth the trouble." The raft drifted on, but to me it felt like sinking. That night the river was black as tar, with the stars scattering over it like somebody'd spilled a box o' nails. The raft drifted slow, and I laid back looking up, feeling hollow as a jug. I whispered, "Jim, I reckon you're gone, and I warn't man enough to keep you safe." The words stung like nettles. Then I remembered how Jim used to point at the stars and tell me stories. He'd say, "Huck, some of them stars is watchin' over folks, same as angels." I used to laugh, call it foolishness. But now, staring up at him, I felt like maybe Jim weren't so far after all. I talked to the night, soft so nobody but the river could hear. "Jim, you always said freedom weren't just for yourself but for everybody. You said a body's got to stand for what's right, even if the world calls it wrong. Well, I see it now, lyin' and trickin'. It don't mean nothing lessen it's for helpin' a friend." The stars glittered steady, like they was noddin' back. I sat up sudden, feelin' a kind of fire catch inside me. "Huck Finn, you been runnin' from reckonin' all your days. But if you let Jim be sold downriver, you'll never be nothin' but a low-down coward. Better to risk your hide than let him down." My chest swelled, heavy but sure. "I don't care if they catch me, nor whip me, nor hang me. Jim's my friend, and I ain't quittin' on him." The river kept on carrying me, but I warn't driftin' blind no more. I had a course, and it was set by the stars Jim loved. Come mornin', the fog lifted off the water like a blanket bein' pulled back, and the riverbanks showed clear again. My belly was empty, but my head was busy. I warn't just driftin' anymore, I had myself a notion. Now listen here, Huck Finn, I muttered, squattin' low on the raft. If them scoundrels aim to sell Jim, they'll need a town to do it. And where there's a town, there's eyes and ears. All I got to do is slip in, keep my head down, and learn where they hid him. I rummaged through my sack and fetched out them rags again. The bonnet was tore near through, but it'd serve. I pulled it on and checked my look in the river. The water rippled, but I could see enough to know I looked pitiful as any stray farm child. Well, Miss Huck, I said, talking to my reflection, you best mind your tongue and keep it simple. Folks don't suspect young uns much if they act hungry and harmless. The raft bumped a snag, and I near tumbled. I laughed a little shakily. Ain't no sense fearin' what ain't come yet. Fear don't fetch Jim back. I could almost hear Jim's voice, steady and calm. Huck, you think too fast, boy. Sit quiet and let your head catch up to your feet. I grinned. Well, Jim, reckon my head's caught up now. I'll be sly as a fox. I'll listen sharp, and when I find you, I'll spring you loose if it kills me. The town wasn't far downstream. I could see smoke risin' and a church steeple peekin' over the trees. My heart banged away like a hammer, but my feet felt steady. Here's where the play starts, I told myself, and Huck Finn never yet backed down from a play. The town was small, but it looked big enough to catch a boy like me if I weren't careful. Dogs barked, hens scratched in the dirt street, and folks moved about slow with their errands. I kept my bonnet low and my mouth shut, slippin' along the edge like a stray. Behind the tavern I heard Logan rough and a door slam. Two men come out and my heart dropped. They was the same ragged scoundrels from the shack. I ducked behind a woodpile, holdin' my breath. The tall one said, "We'll fetch that darky to the trader come nightfall. He'll pay us fine, long as we don't jaw too much." The shorter one spat in the dirt. "I don't like Ling Aaron. Sheriff's ears is pricked. Let's sell him quick and light out." My hands clenched up. They was talking Jim for sure. A woman passed nearby, nodding to them. I kept my head down, pretending to fuss with my shoe, but my ears was sharp as a fox's. The tall one growled, "He's tied in the shed by Miller's place. Don't open your mouth, or we're ruined." The short one laughed ugly. "That boy we saw on the river. Bet he's nozzin' about. Hope we catch him. Might be another reward in it." My stomach flipped, but I warn't about to give myself away. I slipped back into the alley whisperin', "So Jim's in the shed. Now how in thunder do I fetch him out?" I peeped round the corner. Their skiff was tied by the dock, rockin' easy in the water. An idea struck me sudden, bold as a firecracker. If their boat was gone, I thought, they'd chase it sure. And while they're running, I could get to Jim. I grinned despite the shake in my knees. "Huck Finn, you was born to meddle." I crept down to the dock, quiet as a mouse, my fingers working at the knot. The rope come loose, and the skiff drifted slow into the current, swinging wide toward the middle of the river. Just then I heard a shout behind me. "Hey, the boat!" Their boots thundered, but I darted away, heart hammering wild, praying my trick would hold. The shouts of the men faded toward the river, cussin' and splashin', as they scrambled after their boat. My legs was shaken, but I didn't stop. I tore through the back lanes till I spied the Miller shed standin' lonely by a fence, its roof saggin' like it might fall in. I crept close, my heart bangin' like a drum. From inside come a low moan. "Jim," I whispered through the crack. "Huck." The voice was hoarse but sharp enough to cut me in two. "Lawsy, boy, dat you?" I near busted cryin', but I swallowed it down. "It's me, Jim. Don't you make a sound. I'm getting you loose." The door was barred with a rusty chain. I pulled out my knife and worked at the padlock, my hands sweatin' slick. It give a squeal and popped open. Inside, Jim was sittin' on the floor, wrists bound with rope, his face tired but his eyes brightening at sight of me. "Praise the Lord, Huck. I knowed you'd come," he whispered. "Shucks, Jim," I said, grinning though my teeth chattered. "I nearly didn't, but I ain't letting no river rats sell you off." I cut the ropes quick, and Jim rubbed his wrists, standing stiff. He laid his big hand on my shoulder gentle-like. "You's a brave chilly, Huck. Braver den you knows." I ducked my head. "Well, reckon I just meddled my way into it. Come on, we best skedaddle, for they double back." We slipped out the back, keeping low. The street was near empty, all the fuss down by the dock. I led Jim through the brush, my heart pounding every step. When we hit the raft, floatin' where I'd left it, Jim climbed aboard with a sigh so deep it near shook the river. "Huck," he said, looking at me with a grin wide as the Mississippi, "reckon dis raft de safest pollies I ever see." I laughed, weak but glad. "Well, Jim, reckon you done better without me meddlin'. But here we are, both free again." The current caught us, carrying us back into the wide, dark water. The raft drifted easy once more, the moon hanging low and yellow over the trees. Jim stretched out on the logs, staring up quiet, while I sat by the tiller, thinking more than talking. The night smelled clean after all that town dust and trouble. After a long spell, I says, "Jim, I reckon I ain't much good at this friend business. I near lost you twice in a single day." Jim turned his head slow, smiling that calm way he had. "Huck, you don't see it. You done come back when you coulda gone on without me. Dat make you good as any friend in the world." I picked at a splinter in the wood, feeling my cheeks burn. "Well, I had to. Nothing set right in me when you was gone. River warn't the same, neither. Too lonesome." Jim chuckled soft. "Dat's 'cause we's partners. River can't float just one o' us. She know it." I let that sit a while, watching the stars quiver on the black water. My chest felt lighter than it had in days. "Maybe you're right, Jim," I said at last. "Maybe a body ain't measured by how slick he can lie or trick his way out. Maybe it's how he sticks when folks need him." Jim nodded. "Dat's the truth, Huck." The raft creaked, and the river hummed gentle underneath. I leaned back, listening to it. For the first time in a long while, I warn't afeared of what was comin'. "Reckon the river'll keep testin' us," I said, half to Jim and half to myself. "But I ain't runnin' from reckonin's no more. Not if it means leavin' you." Jim closed his eyes, mut-erin' like a prayer. "Dat boy gon' turn out right yet." I grinned into the dark. Well, Huck Finn's still Huck Finn, but maybe he's a mite better than he was yesterday. And the river carried us on, steady and sure, like it knowed we'd earned a little peace. Thanks for joining Huck on this forgotten journey down the Mississippi. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more timeless adventures brought back to life. Every story has more to tell, and you won't want to miss the next one.